1408 26 miles south of Carr Island, a Navy Seahawk screams north at 50 feet, racing to stop a tanker routine. On paper, hail her, warn her, stop her. Nobody in that cockpit knows the ocean is already watching them back. On Carr, a Qadir 15 missile battery has stayed silent through 90 American airstrikes. 90 chances to die. 90 times it held its breath today. For the first time in weeks, it finally has a reason to speak. Tracer fire rips across empty water where the Seahawk sat 2 seconds ago. The pilot brakes hard right, airframe screaming through the turn, diving to 30 feet. Something is shooting at them and their threat receivers hear absolutely nothing. A dead wellhead platform, rusted since the 80s, hides a Zu-23 twin-barrel gun and a man in sandals on a crank handle. No power, no signature, no warning, just 12 patient days with a thermos, waiting for exactly this moment. The gun sits 100 feet above the waterline for once. The gunner isn't craning upward at a fleeing jet, he's looking down on a helicopter, silhouetted against flat, blinding water. There's nowhere on this ocean to hide. He leads the Seahawk the way he was trained, a full aircraft length ahead, and walks the burst straight into the empty air where the helicopter is about to be. Old school aim, modern consequences. This isn't luck, it's math. Climbing would save them from the gun, but climbing is death. An Iranian search radar sweeps overhead, and further up the coast, an S-300 battery owns every inch of sky above 100 feet, with missiles that leave the rail at Mach 6. From the instant of launch, a helicopter crew gets 45 seconds to live. 45 seconds of full power climb buys maybe 1,200 feet. It's a foot race against a bullet, and today, the bullet is having a very good afternoon. A missile can't bend its guidance beam, flies dead straight while the curve of the earth falls away beneath it. So the Seahawk does the only thing left, it hugs the water, hiding behind a hill made entirely of ocean. No Growler jamming support today. Every electronic warfare asset in theater is 40 miles away, gutting a different target. The Navy's entire answer to Iranian air defense this afternoon is one helicopter, flying like it just stole something. The pilot runs sideways instead of climbing, and the tracer stream falls behind and dies. The gun is beaten, but the man standing directly behind the gunner has a tube braced on his shoulder, and he's already aiming. A launch plume erupts off the rig's upper deck. Flares punch out of the Seahawk in a burning white string. The standard defense, deployed instantly, correctly, and completely uselessly. This missile was never fooled for even a second. It's a Moke, too, and it doesn't get fooled by fire. Its seeker reads heat in 2 separate colors at once, and throws away anything that glows bright in one and dim in the other, exactly what a burning flare does. Picture a bouncer checking ID under 2 different lights. The fake glows wrong every single time. The Seahawk's engine hides most of its heat, but most isn't all, and this missile doesn't need all of it, it only needs enough. The warhead detonates wide, off the tail, close enough that the door gunner watches the fireball bloom and burn out over the waves. Nobody aboard ever sees the man who fired it in this war, they almost never do. $20,000 of Iranian ordnance, one man carrying it up a rusted ladder, one reload, and a scorch mark on a helicopter deck. That's the entire cost of the engagement. Iran's air defense budget, hard at work, defending empty water. 6 miles back, on a platform the Seahawk passed 4 minutes ago, 2 men stand at a railing with binoculars and a handheld radio, charged off a solar panel zip-tied to the rail. No power signature, invisible to every sensor in the Gulf. Scene 18. They read the helicopter's tail number as it flew past and put it on the net. That single call is the second half of a system whose first half sits 60 miles inland, along a coastline strung with silent, listening antennas. It's called Qadir. Long horizontal arrays working the bottom of the VHF band, on radio waves 33 feet long. A wave that size hits hardest against objects roughly its own size, and a Seahawk's rotor disc is 54 feet wide. It rings like a bell. Qadir can't aim, its picture smears into an uncertainty box 17 miles wide, but it's held this helicopter on its plot since the moment it lifted off. 11 minutes gone, fuel burn chasing a rust pile. The tanker sits 8.5 miles from safety. The clock this crew actually cares about isn't on the instrument panel, it's painted on the sea itself. The distance between the tanker's bow and the 12-mile line, closing with every passing second, every wasted breath, every mile of fuel. The Seahawk crabs left, pulls level, and the tanker fills the windscreen, a wall of red and black steel riding high and barely moving. No white water behind her. 5.5 knots against a normal cruise of 10. She isn't struggling, she's stalling. 12 decks up, her master isn't panicking. He's scheduling Shadow Fleet ships. Survive by getting hailed, logged, and released. The paperwork is the punishment. The cargo still sails. He's done this run 4 times since spring. This time feels different. Her transponder claims a commercial Iraqi port. Her actual heading points straight for Car Island's loading jetties. Anyone can type a false destination into an automatic identification signal, but one number, stamped into the hull for life, can never be repainted. Her IMO number ties this ship through 4 previous names and 6 different flags: Aquarius Voyager, Maroon Aquarius, Leonore, Bendigo, now Belma. A floating shell game the size of an office tower. Paper works, until a Navy officer reads the hull for himself. Channel 16, then 13, then 6 static answers. Every hail. Empty bridge wings stare back at the Seahawk stopping a ship at sea. Runs on strict, unbroken steps. Hail, hail again, warning shots, and only then, force. This crew is out of patience. At 14:29, the door gunner leans into his .50 caliber and rakes a burst across the water 500 yards off her bow. A wall of white spray stands up in the sun. Every man on that bridge has to see it. Her course doesn't move 1 degree. Then the water beside the tanker starts throwing wakes, for fast boats spreading out of the haze at 45 knots. Iran builds these by the dozen, knowing it will lose them by the dozen. Every man aboard is coming anyway. 8 days ago, the Navy sank 60 of these boats in a single morning. The captain running point today knows exactly what happened, and he's still here, rooster tail thrown 40 feet high, hull tucked behind the tanker for cover. One fast boat is a nuisance. 4 of them, fanning wide, is a math problem. And Iran wrote the equation: a single-door gun can only aim one direction at a time, and every second spent on one boat is a free lane for the other 3. The only real cover on this entire ocean is the tanker itself. Her hull stands 160 feet tall, and everything hidden below the line drawn from the shore radar to her funnel sits invisible, swallowed inside her own massive steel shadow. On Car, the SAM battery gets a fresh box on a bearing and starts earning the rest of its survival. Truck rolled out, stabilizers slammed down, for canisters raised to firing angle. This is Iran's best radar: no dish, no motion, just thousands of tiny transmitters steering a beam like a stadium screen. At 50 feet, none of that matters. Clean track doesn't begin until 14 miles out. The commander doesn't need a better radar. He needs the American helicopter to climb, just once, just for 3 seconds, and the tanker is dragging this fight north to force exactly that. 7 miles from the line, the crew chief needs a clean shot on the lead fast boat. The pilot rises above the tanker's deck line to give it to him, and 50 rounds tear into the boat's engine cover. Smoke pours from her transom. She's out. 3 seconds of exposure is all the battery commander needed. After 8 patient days. Lock commit. The canister lid blows off the truck, a Sayat 3 interceptor, 2,000 pounds of solid fuel, screaming toward the Seahawk at nearly a mile every single second. The pilot drops the nose and dives for the tanker's shadow, her stern filling the windscreen close enough to count the weld seams. The missile detonates 700 feet off the starboard beam, a white flash, no shockwave. $1 million, spent clearing seabirds. That miss wasn't luck, it was physics. A missile that fast aims for where its target will be, guided by constant steering updates from the radar. The instant the Seahawk vanished behind the tanker's hull, the radar's picture froze solid, still tracking a prediction that had already stopped moving. Every stale second at that closing speed walks the miss out by hundreds of yards. Iran's math was flawless. America's geometry simply won first. And that firing bearing never came from a radar at all. Iran's coastal network couldn't see a helicopter skimming the waves. It never could. All afternoon what shrank an 11-mile blur down to an exact kill box was a man on a rusted catwalk, 6 miles back, with a pair of binoculars and a $30 solar-charged radio. Billions in Iranian sensors bought a neighborhood. A thermos and a good pair of eyes bought the exact address. 60 miles south, an American destroyer answers a call it would rather not make. Its radar snaps to full power, lighting the sky, an interceptor spinning live in its cell, every watt of it already committed elsewhere. Because Iran is putting ballistic missiles into American bases across the Gulf. This same afternoon a radar at full radiate stops being a sensor. It becomes a target. 6 minutes is the entire loan this crew has left. The Seahawk slides beam onto the tanker, holds position upwind, and stops moving entirely. There's no clever shortcut through the next 11 seconds. A laser locks onto the funnel, and the crew has to sit still, exposed, steady, and brave while 2 fast boats close inside 2 miles and a live SAM battery reboots behind them. Every clock in this fight now runs on the same unbearable countdown. The first Hellfire tears off the rail, chasing a coded pulse of infrared light invisible to the human eye, a barcode painted on steel that nothing else in the world matches. Diesel smoke pours off the funnel, thick enough to scatter the beam to nothing, but the crew planned for that too. Crossed beam, upwind, clean face exposed. A second missile follows 3 seconds behind, doubling the odds past 99%. Both warheads bury themselves in the funnel and the exhaust trunking tears open beneath the impact. Fuel lines, control runs, the engine's entire windpipe, shredded in an instant. The hull stays whole, no fire below deck, not one soul within 10 decks of the blast. The engine note simply dies, and the tanker goes dead and the water propulsion ends. The mission ends, nothing else has to.